It's Saturday night, it's just gone past 20 past 6, and it's hockey night in the hangar, and there's an impending sense of deja vu as the Berkshire Bees welcome the Telford Tigers to town on a Saturday. There's a 6:30 face-off, and once again I'm joined by Anthony Russell. I swear I've seen this movie before in the last month. Anthony, how are you?
I'm not doing too badly. Thank you, Joe, for having me as always. They always say that the sequels are never as good as the original, so we're hoping for Godfather 2 and seeing what comes out of it.
Well, we're hoping for lots of things tonight on the evidence of the last game here. The Tigers unbeaten here in the hangar this year. They've won both their visits so far, looking to make it a perfect 3 out of 3 on the road, as producer Nick shows us his new team comparison pages he's got. The Bees, they've won 2 of the last 5. Obviously, Anthony was in the Link Centre last Saturday when the Bees took down the Wildcats again. That's caused a meltdown in the week. The Tigers, they're coming off the back of they were down in home to Peterborough last Sunday and obviously came back to get the win.
They were 5-0 up last Sunday against Peterborough. Peterborough pulled it back to 5-all before Telford eventually managed to sneak by at the end, thanks to the wonders of Mr. Henderson. It's been a bit of a mix for Telford since they won here at the hangar. It was 3 defeats on the bounce, followed by what was last weekend a really productive weekend. Solway got no points. They are now 1 point off of that 8th and final playoff spot. And the Sharks are slowly honing into view. Given the fact those two sides play each other in Solway in a couple of weekends' time, big weekend for Telford as they look to really put the pressure on our friends in the north.
Well, as Anthony says, Telford closing in on 8th in the table. Here's what the table looks like coming into tonight, and also takes into account the game in Peterborough on Thursday. Well, that's not the table, Nick. Here we go. Let's jump in. That's also not the table, Nick. We're getting there, everyone. The Tigers, as Anthony says, 1 point behind the Sharks. They have played 1 game more than the men from the extreme north. The Bees at the bottom. They had a productive Saturday night. Picked up a point against Sheffield on Sunday, going down in penalty shots, blowing a 3-0 lead in third and final period. The top 3, well, they're away and gone. It's a case of who finishes where. Those have got some big games. Milton Keynes versus Leeds is tonight. That's the first one of them that everyone was probably watching as opposed to watching this. And yes, so 2 teams battling for the playoff spot. Obviously, advantage Solway for now. Tigers hitting a run of form. Like I said, they looked very good here last time. Do they edge it for you? You're going to see the Sharks next week, so I don't want to put you too much on a...
I think probably the thing from my perspective, it will be a case of seeing with our own eyes. I mean, there's been a lot of talk for Solway because they've just sort of gently rolled along, picking up 2 points a weekend, generally focusing on the home game rather than necessarily worrying too much about what happens on the road. The issue being 4 road games on the bounce for Solway, picking up no points last weekend. It should be said that tonight, despite the fact that they would be brother against brother, Solway have started Callum Hepburn in net this evening against the Swindon Wildcats, knowing that they have Bristol tomorrow at Cribbs Causeway. That is going to be a massive game potentially when you consider Telford have got quite a tough weekend. Obviously they've got good history here at the hangar, but the Bees do have a horrible habit of springing a surprise, even though they have struggled against the teams around them.
Yeah, then it says Bees struggling against teams around them. They've got 5 wins against the top 3 and only 5 off the bottom 7. Your teams for this evening. Firstly, for the home side, the TSI World Berkshire Bees, they line up as follows. 2, Adam Rossbottom. 5, Ollie Nags. 12, Hannah Wilson. 13, Marcus Mitchell. 15, Ty Cathcart. 16, Adam Erskine. 19, Will Stead. 21, Marcel Balaz. 23, Dominic Gabai. 24, Dan Rose. 33, Rouse Senis, back from, well, not being allowed to play against Peterborough on Thursday. Less said about that, the better. 71, Josh Kelly. 74, Liam Morris. 88, Josh Martin. 91, welcome back, Ollie Hems-Mayer with the Jets having the night off. 94, Stuart Morgan. 95, Jacob Ranson. Net minus 42, Max Wright, and 45, Dean Skins. Wright plays after his 5 in-game penalty was rightly downgraded to 2+2. Anthony, obviously, you saw Bees on Saturday. I was here on Sunday. Max Wright, a very good weekend. Saturday, a whole team effort. Sunday, a whole team effort for 40 minutes. The problem, as always, it has been this year, is goals. When they dry up, they really dry up. And last time against the Tigers, Telford did a very good job of taking away every shooting lane possible and escorting the Bees into the corners.
And one thing last weekend, of course, having seen the Bees in Swindon, it was about for a strange thing that the Bees have generally not been very good at, but they were very clinical. Dom Gabai's goal, a perfect example, just jumping on a moment. They just conceded. Somebody blows their coverage and steps in to make a hit they didn't need to make, and the player coach was there to do the damage. The Bees maybe are not going to win games 8-7, 7-6 or anything like that, but they need to take their chances, especially against a side that has conceded an awful lot of goals this year. Telford by my reckoning, have conceded, I think it's the second or third most goals in the division. If they can get one past Brad Day, you have to think they will have a good chance of getting two.
Well, speaking of the Tigers, here is your rather large bench for the visitors this evening. 3, Ryan Leese. 4, Adam Harding. 10, welcome back Lucas Price. I know he was back last weekend, played a couple of games in the Telford Tigers too, out with a long-term injury, so good to see him back. 11, Eric Henderson. 12, Danny Rose. 13, Harry Ferguson. 15, Josh Crawley. 16, Finley Howes. 23, David Thompson. 26, Deacon Fielder. 27, Edgars Landsbergs. 28, Devon Skoleski. 38, Tom Byrne. 39, Louis Newell. 47, Ross Connolly. 49, James Smith. 77, Scott McKenzie. 91, Rhodes Mitchell King. Netminders, 30, Brad Day. And 34, Matt Byrne. Anthony, the Tigers were fantastic here last time. Eric Henderson, David Thompson, that pairing has been superb. But the one who's probably the most exciting for me, and I'm pretty sure for you as well, because there's a chance to see him tonight, Josh Crawley on the game list.
Josh Crawley has been making waves in a bunch of different places. He's obviously on this sort of three-way contract between the Blackburn Hawks in North 1, between the Tigers and the Manchester Storm. There is a lot of talk, and rightly justified, scoring for the Tigers on his debut for them in Swindon a couple of weeks ago.
As the Tigers take to the ice behind us. Quickly, just because I forgot it, and Nick already tapped me on the shoulder and reminded me about it, here is your games elsewhere around the league. Currently, it is the Hull Seahawks 5, the Romford Raiders 0 at the end of the first. Swindon and Solway start at the same time we do, and then all eyes at the bottom. The MK Lightning against the Leeds Knights, 7 o'clock start, so we'll keep you updated as much as we can. You'll have to find a score elsewhere, likely the National League website at the end. Your officials for the evening tonight are, in the Water Wings of Power, Mr. William Yarlsmark and Mr. Hugh Poulton, assisted by the lines of Mr. Ollie Finch and Mr. Justin Lalonde. I'm not saying traffic was bad coming from the M4, but Mr. Poulton only turned up as the doors were opening.
No, but he got here in the end, and that's the most important bit. We thank all 4 of them. There is no game without them after all.
As Max Wright is ready to lead the Bees out tonight. They'll want to keep their good home form going. I'm not saying it's excellent, it's been good. They're picking up points here and there. They'll want to correct some wrongs that they had against the Tigers last month. The Tigers looking to complete the sweep here in the hangar this year. As Max Wright leads out the Bees. We'll be back with you with the first period in about 2.5 minutes' time.
Well, very good evening and welcome to everyone out to Ice Arena, the home of your TSI World, Berkshire Bees. To start today's games, proceedings we can please ask Liam Morris from the Bees and the captain for the Telford Tigers to step forward for tonight's backdrop with Chloe Neve. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not standing already, please do, and remove any headwear as we play tonight's national anthem.
Well, it's almost time for your Saturday night's main events. Starting netminders for both teams, well, let's just get it out of the way. It's the usual suspects. For the Berkshire Bees, it's Max Wright. He has a 10-22-4 record on the year with 4.05 goals against average, 908 save percentage, and 2,119 minutes in the crease. At the other end for the Telford Tigers, it's Brad Day, 15-22-3 on the year, 4.54 goals against average, 8.71 save percentage, or sorry, 0.871 save percentage, and 2,378 minutes at the crease. Anthony, two very good netminders. We saw it here last month. Max Wright has been outstanding all year and is without doubt now the top import netminder of the three. Brad Day at the other end has been, well, the gold standard for many years at this level. It's the
clash of the two netminders who have played minute after minute after minute. Obviously, Dean Skins has kind of come in and has played probably a few more minutes than the Brett Shepherd was able to manage here before he moved on to the high road. But we're getting towards that point at the end of the season, particularly for Telford as well, where the playoffs are a little bit more within reach than they are for the Bees, but they're going to need their backstops to really, really carry a massive workload. Max Wright has arguably carried too much of a workload at times, but then again, so has Brad Day. We've already touched on the amount of goals that the Tigers have conceded across the season, and now it's two sides who at times have been a little bit snake-bitten, have struggled sometimes to kind of generate goals, even with some very high-powered import offence. It's going to be a case sometimes in matches like this, who blinks first, because who blinks first generally loses.
The issue with both these teams this year has been just the random nights off. Last time the game was good, not great, so we'll see what we get served up here as the Tigers win the opening puck drop. Chipped, well, attempted up the far side wall, finally brought over the blue line by Mitchell King. Turned over, Mob. Back to Stead. Comes off a leg in front, back to the slot is off a skate and way. Thompson recovers the puck. That one coughed up to Hemmings-Mayer, who will just clear the blue line. The Tigers, you've got to think, are coming into this game going with exactly the same plan they had on their last visit. It worked effectively at both ends of the ice. The Bees are hoping maybe have learned a trick or two since then, as they cough it up from behind her own net. Shot into the glove of Wright and out again. Skaleski collects the rebound. Back to the blue line. Shot through traffic. Ferguson making friends in the front of the net, much as he did on the last visit here.
We talked about the sense of deja vu in the first sort of opening 54 seconds of the game, very much like last time, that immediate kind of push and pressure, forcing a couple of mistakes behind their own net from the Bees already, and it's not the... You'd be wanting the Bees to quickly up this tempo. They can't sit back for too long, as good as Max Wright may be.
Balaz wins the draw. Max. Skate the puck out of his blue line. Long pass over to Balaz. Tries to cut inside, runs into a white shirted wall. Nags blows a tyre at the blue line and the Tigers spring away. Skaleski gets brought down by Morris, and that's an unfortunate penalty, but it is a penalty nonetheless.
Yeah, Liam Morris is trying to argue that one, but it's an absolute barn door. Dylan Skaleski's looked at him like, are you really having this argument? But yeah, it's pretty crystal clear. Intent or not may or may not be there, but he's taken him down. It's an ironclad penalty and an early power play chance for the Tigers, who've had pretty much all the running so far. 1:15
time of the penalty. Liam Morris 2 minutes for tripping. Tigers on power play this year, 29 goals at a 23.58 success rate. That's the 7th best in the league. The Bees on a penalty kill have only given up 28 goals all year, 79.26 success rate, which, believe it or not, is the 2nd best in the National League.
It's one of those ones, unfortunately, for the Bees. They only, off the top of my head, they only have 3 short-handed goals in the year, despite such a good penalty kill.
The Bees have done a very good job on the penalty kill, and given the defensive worries they've had this year, it is very impressive indeed. The Tigers have scored one of those, or a couple of those 28 goals so far. This is back to the blue line, moved across, shot fired in off the pads of Wright and cleared by Stead. Dave quickly move it up the far side wall, tipped on ahead. Kelly is there. That one did leave the blue line. Offside rightly called. That will stay in neutral zone face-off.
Yeah, nice and straightforward. The Bees not being massively tested so far, but they've also done a really good job of not allowing Telford to set up, not let them get comfortable, which, given the fact they've given up an early penalty, is exactly what you want. This is the bit where the Bees know that they are generally better than the Tigers. They have to kind of show their dominance in this area early.
Back in the Tigers zone, collected, brought through neutral ice. Just as I say, that was dropped off. Over the blue line comes Tigers into the zone. Ferguson. Drops off to Henderson. Lovely will move the step inside Rose, finds Thompson below the goal line. McKenzie to Henderson. Shot is blocked by Stuart Mogg on that occasion. Henderson can't keep it under control. Rose, that one off a glove on the bench. Face-off will stay inside. 43 seconds left on the Morris minor.
The classics are always the best, aren't they, in those circumstances?
Yes. Can you say that without hanging your head in shame, please?
As the one out of the two of us who has children, the dad joke's in my department, and I'll thank you not to step on my toes. By the way, like I said, it's been solid penalty kill so far for the Bees, even if Danny Rose is just going to jump the face off there.
Thompson gets the puck back to the blue line. Mitchell King passed across the zone. Henderson couldn't get it under control. Mitchell King there on clean-up duty. Bouncing puck finds its way to Ferguson. That one well read on that occasion by Rose. Fired around the boards. Kept in by Thompson. Mitchell King. Deflected pass finds Mogg. He'll clear the zone. 15 seconds left before Bees return to full strength. Still time to at least set up a play for the Tigers, but it looks like they're quite happy to just get the line sorted and take the end of the shift. Up the far side wall it comes. Kelly misses on a hit that's dumped into the corner. Mitchell fired around the boards. Bees return to full strength. That pass behind Ballas, turned over. That one turned over back again to Ballas. He'll try and set Rossbottom away over the blue line. Quickly pinched on by Deacon Fielder.
Yeah, really solid penalty kill there. Great work by Danny Rose in the latter stages of it as well. Just tidying things up, causing the Tigers to just not quite get what they wanted to do. But now the Bees have actually got to just try and settle themselves down, make something happen here. And they've got some of the bigger guns out right now who will hopefully do some of that work for them.
Sennis on the rush into the zone, loses it on the chip and chase. That one is very offside there on Joe Aston. Smith touches up, and that will go the whole way back.
Yeah, too much lingering in the zone as soon as Mr. Lalonde's arm was in the air there from the Tigers. You can't blame them for pushing. I'm sure a few of them will claim that that the wax was in their ears there for a little longer than the officials will have liked. But first real sort of proper face-off set-up chance here for the Bees in the zone. Can they craft the chance?
Well, Goodbye wins the draw. Morris fires into the corner. That will give up possession. McKenzie blows a tire at the blue line. And that will give the puck back to Hemmings-Mayer. Dumps into the corner. Foot race. Stead gets there ahead of Newell. Stead back to Nags. Turn pass. He's shoved off the puck. Well, Stead shoves a hand in the face of Louis Newell. Fired into the zone. Bouncing puck. Loose in front. Sea of legs. Finally knocked out into the corner. Tigers recover.
Yeah, Will Stead very, very lucky there not to catch a penalty. Gloved hand straight into the face of the Tigers man there.
Tigers clear. Nags looks for an option. And icing is called on that one. Side towards Will Stead. No touch on it.
Well, I thought it had clipped the bottom of his skate there, but it was clearly the other side of the half of the red line, so it wouldn't have mattered either way on that particular front as Will Stead looked to the heavens in frustration.
Goodbye wins the draw. Nags under pressure from Thompson. Spins away. Finds Will Stead. Tries to fire it over to Ollie Hemmings-Mayer as the Bees will try and change. Nags with a stop at centre ice. Hemmings-Mayer will dump it in the corner. And the Bees will get that change in.
A few too many Bees players skating off the ice, sort of shaking their heads at the moment. Clearly something's not working for them.
Harding. Pass through centre ice. Chipped into the corner. Mogg will get there first ahead of Henderson. Tries to find Wilson. Help coming from Dan Rose. Mogg off the boards. Brilliantly gloved down at the blue line. Shot fired in. That's off the paddle. Up into the stands.
It's good work as well there from the Tigers, because you had Jacob Ranson skating up high, a guy who's got some wheels on him as well. If it had fallen kindly, he would have been away, and the Tigers man just cuts across in front of him to allow his teammate to be able to put the puck back on net. So instead of having to all skate back frantically, they managed to craft the chance themselves.
Bees win the draw. Puck immediately jumps on by Josh Crawley. He's a good job in recovery. Fired around the ball to Rossbottom. That one just clears the blue line. Despairing dive there from one of the young Tigers as Edgars Landsbergs runs into a black-shirted wall.
Old friends meeting there as Landsberg skates into Kelly and Mitchell.
Ballas down low to collect the puck under pressure from Price and Crawley. Ballas away into the Tiger zone. Tries to find Rossbottom, bouncing puck behind the net. Price is there. Tigers bring it away. Shipped off the boards. It'll be far enough to get at least a defensive change in for them. Ballas trying to play it through Devon Skaleski, which isn't effective. Collected by Rossbottom at the Tigers blue line. Loses out on a puck check from McKenzie. McKenzie collects. Fired towards Howells. Almost tried to play the helpful deflection through Mitchell. Well, on that occasion, that pass is fanned on. The Bees will jump on it. Goodbye. Stops, fires. That one takes the deflection into the corner. Senis, the furthest B forward. Stuck on a change as he finally skates to the bench. Morris with the puck, loses out. Fired up and out the zone.
Obviously, Telford are having the better of the chances, but neither side's created much of any real intent at the moment. It kind of needs somebody to grab this game by the scruff of the neck and really, really state their intent as to what they want to do with it.
Goodbye. We'll get round Burr. Into the Tiger zone. Goodbye crashing in. Shot off the side of the net. May have caught Day on the way through. Nags. Down low to Goodbye. Back to Morris. Pinches in. Shot saved by Day. The first real shot the Bees have generated in the first 8 minutes. Down low to Goodbye again. The no-look pass. Tries to find Stead and finds the side of the net. That one's kicked up ahead by Smith. Icing is called and given. 8:05 gone in the first.
Well, as soon as I mentioned that somebody needs to grab the game by the scruff of the neck, Don Goodbye decides he wants to try and do it all himself, and you'd have put decent money on that game going in. It was certainly pretty close to nothing else. As you said, the first really decent shot from the Bees, 8 or so minutes into the game, and they've now managed to force an icing out of Telford. They need to do something with it, and as soon as I say that, they lose the draw.
Smith up the far side wall, tipped on ahead by Aston, or no, it isn't. Icing called again, so the Bees will get a reset and hope, as Anthony says, to win the draw on this occasion.
Yeah, second bite of the cherry here for the Bees on that front, but yeah, definitely an icing on that occasion. 1-0 Solway at the Link Centre so far, as we Connor Henderson with an early goal for the Scots.
I wonder if the Sharks hold that one. Will there be as much of a meltdown this week as there was last week? Cathcart shot is wider than net, falls nicely back. That one is fired way up into the stands by Senis. That one not very well done on the radar.
One for the driving range. That one more than the ice rink, all things considered. But this is better from the Bees. This is better, given the fact that we sort of got through the first a very sizable chunk. They've now had a couple of chances, actual bit of zone time as well. It's taken them a little bit of time to wake up, but as long as they do wake up and don't fall asleep at the back.
As you were saying, that one's off the post and wide. Eric Henderson with the setting the alarm bells going there.
That's the sort of thing he's been able to do for Telford since he and his compatriot came across from Poland, and yeah, just Max Wright thanking his best friend there in a moment.
Henderson over the blue line again, drops it off. That one's saved by Wright on this occasion. And the speed with which the Tigers counter-attack is very impressive once again.
Yeah, they are not necessarily something especially. You wouldn't think of Telford as possibly being the speediest of teams in transition across the duration of this season so far, but they did show there. They caught the Bees a bit flat-footed, and they were from one end to the other in a moment. But the thing is now, hopefully, the Bees will notice this and hopefully try to kind of counter that. We might see the defensemen start dropping back a little bit more than they have been.
McKenzie out of mid-air, backs it down onto Hallam Wilson, turned over. McKenzie shot off the shoulder of Wright, cleared as far as the blue line. Shot fired in, couple of deflections, but Wright able to see it the majority of the way. Kicks it into the corner. McKenzie finds Howells. Bounce off the glass. Back into the battle. Bees kind of getting each other's way. Hallam Wilson finally brings it out over the blue line. Foot race into the corner between Rose and Lease. It's won by Rose. Ransom. Fired around to Wilson. Knocked out the pile, and Telford will come the other way. 3 on 3. Well, 2 on 3 now as Tigers go to the bench. Chance fired into the glove of Wright. Good shot from Devon Skoleski on that occasion.
Skoleski, of course, has scored an absolute beauty of a goal the last time these two sides met here to kill the game off. Definitely not his best shot there. Wright's anticipated it really well, and the angle's pretty much only going to put that in sort of one general area. Wright throws the glove out. And I was going to say, I mean, what is a standard Max Wright save these days, given the amount of magic he appears to be able to create at a moment's notice?
Fired across the zone, drop pass. Well, you were saying about magic, there's not a moment there. Tigers take the lead 9:50. And it is David Thompson with the goal by the looks of it, his 14th of the year.
I've done it again. I did it to Telford the last time they were here, and I've done it to the Bees this time. Just an immediate bit of great work. Defenseman is the wrong side of Thompson. That is not a guy that you'll want to be given any sort of space to in front. I make that his 15th goal of the season.
No, penalty shootout winners do not count. I do not care what the National League website says.
The correct number then is?
14.
Thank you.
Other stat websites for the National League are available. Balaz collects at centre ice, up the far side wall. Tries to wait for a man of help. The first person forward was Josh Kelly. The puck back to the centre. Tip from Ross Bottom. Takes it wide of the net.
They didn't know where that one had gone as well, which would have been advantageous to the Bees had it gone on target.
Thompson from Henderson and Newell, the Tigers' first goal of the evening. Eric Henderson, point number 48 on the season. So closing in on the half-century mark. Ross Bottom over the blue line. That's offside. Josh Kelly, again being the first man forward, is the one who jumps the blue line. And we'll come back into neutral.
Well, you can forgive the defenseman for not knowing exactly where he should be, being that high up the wall, but like I say, it just seemed that goal felt a little bit like it had come somewhat out of nowhere. Neither side really had a massive amount of, as I said, really, really good chances. And then the Tigers sort of hit the post, and then we sort of blinked and it was in.
Another offside as Goodbye can't keep that one in at the blue line.
An interesting top combination this for the Bees, having with Goodbye with Stead, obviously not uncommon, but seeing Ollie Hemmings-Mayer out there on that unit as well. I'm fascinated to see how that works. They'll obviously be wanting him to utilise his speed to try and create a bit of space.
Obviously, I know you haven't seen many games of this yet. Hemmings-Mayer, when he has been here, has been on this top unit. Obviously, the availability issues have been more of the problem in the last month or so. As Goodbye fires a shot off the blocker of day. Goodbye tries to hold his man off. Hemmings-Mayer spins into trouble there with Rhodes Mitchell-King there. Does a good job of getting back in the fight. As Mitchell-King clears it. Cross-ice pass stopped by Mitchell. Blocked by Crawley.
It's a fascinating fourth combination for the Tigers, this of Price, Landsbergs and Crawley. It's they certainly have a lot of motor between the lot of them.
Harding has to turn back as Landsbergs was very offside at the point of the rush started. And that was both teams to get a change in. Pass, tips on ahead. Howells bring work to get that back on his stick, down low. Skoleski will go all the way back up to the blue line. Lease through traffic. Tip from McKenzie as he gets in front of Rose. Chance in front. Howells as McKenzie calls for a penalty. Gets the puck back instead. Finds Howells wide open on the face-off dot. Fires off the boards. McKenzie tied up. Still able to get the puck to Devon Skoleski. And again, Lease, that chance into just a sea of bodies. Back to the blue line. And that one held by Max Wright.
A few hacks and whacks between McKenzie and Mitchell there. I think Mitchell went to sort of land a bit of a hit. And well, McKenzie's complaining that the elbow came up there from Marcus Mitchell. I think that's a little bit of a misunderstanding of anatomy as to what actually made contact with him there. But certainly, you know, two guys who are never backwards in coming forwards in terms of the physical edge of their game. So we'll keep an eye on that one for later.
Mogg turnover, does a brilliant job of recovering, getting in front of Harry Ferguson as the Tigers went for the cross-ice pass. Henderson wheels inside the zone, dumped into the corner. Foot race is going to be easily won by Danny Rose, fired back towards the goal. That one pushed away to Stead. 4 on 3 the other way. Goodbye up the right-hand wall. Evades one hit, cuts aside from the second, pass deflected away. Tigers can break once more. Into the zone, blocked by Mogg, loses the stick in the process, tries to go back to Ferguson, off of the wild Stuart Mogg stick. Back high, shuffled around, blue line. Harding, that one takes a deflection, still falls nice in front. Henderson, back to the blue line, shot in and out with the glove of right. Sort of fanned at that one a little. Ferguson, Mogg collects a stick, as that one's turned over to goodbye.
Superb shift by Stuart Mogg there in the middle of losing his stick, just doing all the right things that he needed to do.
Shot in and out with the glove of right as he lets the play continue. Balaz drops it off for Morris. Bees complete the change. 6.5 minutes to go in the first. All eyes on this near side wall where Ralph Sesenis and I can't see who that is. It looks like Joe Aston. I can't quite see from here.
I think it is Aston from this distance, yeah.
As Morris is absolutely run through the whistle.
Well, this is what Ralph Sesenis was really good at. This is what he did last weekend in Swindon and just really got himself under the skin of the Wildcats players, and ultimately it started working out in the Bees' favour. They really frustrated them. I don't really think they can use exactly the same kind of game plan because, with all due respect to the Wildcats, are obviously closer to the top of the table than these two sides, but Telford are more prepared to get kind of down and dirty into the trenches than I think Swindon will generally be. They might have to make a slight adjustment to this game plan if the idea is to kind of sort of needle and hook and tap away at things, because Telford will quite easily play that game with the Bees.
Shot from the blue line from Morris as Morris and Smith exchange words. That's a holdover from last year as the penalties are called. 13:52, and Liam Morris is heading to the box for interference.
Well, that's Dundee versus Fife, that one, all things considered. So you think there'd be friendliness between Scotsmen, but clearly not.
Like I said, that's a holdover from last year where Smith and Morris had a fight here that Mo was not on the winning end of. Morris back in the box, 13:52, time of the penalty. I must say, if that were called slashing, I probably wouldn't have said anything about it. Calling it interference, not for me. Definitely a penalty, though. I feel I should reiterate that, just not the right call, if that makes sense.
Somebody deserves something, but we don't.
Yes.
There's not necessarily agreement on what that something was. Either way, a Tigers penalty now.
Power play.
Power play, yes. Well, Smith.
Back to the blue line. Thompson will try and fire it across ice. Mogg with the clearance. Up to goodbye. Mitchell King collects. Mackenzie. Runs straight into Dom Goodbye. That means Day has to come out and play the puck. Tigers with it, the other end of the ice. We've already said they can break at speed. As they cross over the blue line, Mackenzie drops it back. Ferguson making space in front of the net. Thompson down low. Henderson tries to get back high to Mackenzie. That one's off the shoulder right and over the bar.
Great save by Max right there, just not letting the man in front distract him, and made a good shoulder save.
Thompson down low, back to Thompson again. That one, right, didn't see it. It comes off the arm and the Bees are able to clear. Stead. I think there's a big block in there from Ty Cathcart as well as he skates gingerly back to the bench. Heavy hit delivered on Stead behind the net. He is okay. Tigers will break the other way. Mackenzie over the blue line.
And that's because the man behind the play has taken a whack at Will Stead.
Yep. Must admit, I was good with puck watching there. 15-12 time of the penalty. Tigers, the man in the box. Wait and see when it comes up. So 4-on-4 for 41 seconds. He's now a minute and 19 on the man advantage.
David Thompson.
David Thompson. 2 minutes or something. I didn't see the call. Sorry about that.
There was certainly
guess slashing or something of the like.
There was certainly a bit of a, Stead did take a bit of a whack at Thompson behind the play, and then Thompson responded, and unfortunately only one of them got called.
Kelly's shot saved by Day, and the Tigers will clear. Icing is signalled. Mogg collects it just before the goal line. 2 minutes for slashing is the call on David Thompson. Can confirm that now.
Which, given what he did, is entirely justified, because that's what he did.
That's one thing I was thinking on the way here, that these games have had some unnecessary needle at times, and I think we're starting to see that a bit early tonight.
Yeah.
He's dumping in. Balaz with a shot. That one's off of the Tiger on Brad Day's chest. He'll hold on.
News out of the West. It is now 2-0 to the Solway Sharks. Liam Stenton has added a second goal for the visitors there.
Uh-oh.
And it's currently 6-2 at the world's most versatile arena. The Seahawks leading against the Romford Raiders.
4 seconds left on the Morris Minor before the Bees go on the man advantage. Bees unable to win the draw. Morris out the box. Quickly jumps off for Wilstead as the Tigers clear. Right, out of his net to play it. Goodbye. Bees on the power play this year. 36 goals at a 21.69 success rate, the 10th best in the league. Tigers penalty kill has given up 50 on the year. 69.14, the 9th place penalty kill in the league. The stoppable force meets the movable object in terms of the power play and the penalty kill for these teams. Goodbye. Spins and finds Sesenis.
We think that Telford will have been watching the game tape of last weekend. A couple of power play goals for the Bees against Swindon.
Shoveled in front, Stead unable to get a clean shot away. Lots of sticks in the way. Tigers will break, fired into clean space. Fired back across. Brilliant work there from Don Goodbye on the back end to prevent a short-handed chance. Turned over again though. High flip. Sesenis collects it. 10 seconds left on the Thompson liner. Fine, up to Stead on the right-hand wall. Gets around Newell. Tries to find Goodbye and does, and that one is brilliantly blocked in front by Scott McKenzie. Comes off the stick and goes up into the netting. Point blank range. I'm not going to say it was a goal, but it would have been a high scoring chance there.
Similar kind of play to the one that the Tigers actually managed to convert on as well, just managing to draw a man out of the centre lane. Balaz has got the time and the space to shoot there, but yes, the old campaigner himself, never afraid to step in front of a shot when it needs to be done.
Bees win the draw. Mogg. Fired down low. Wilson loses out on the puck. McKenzie. Tigers clear the zone once more. Fired up ahead. Mogg gets there first. Fired around the boards. McKenzie misplays that one. Back to the blue line. Shot across the bow of Wright's net. Cathcart. Actually finds its way to Rose. Pass away from Wilson. Bees get stuck on a change. Nags. Good work under pressure from the young defenceman. Morris. Over the Tigers' blue line. Tries to cut in. Does a brilliant job. Forces a save. And the second one. And the Bees, that one cleared off the line. Another brilliant piece of defensive work from the Tigers. Catch that one in a second. Nick, there's your cue. Tigers over the blue line again. Aston. Back to the high man. Shot. Tip away from Wright this time. Burn the one crashing the net. Sesenis. Coughs it up to Aston. Fired across the zone. And collected by Morris. Nags. That one's off his knee. No harm done there as Balaz wheels through centre ice. Fired across the Ross bottom. Back off the Tiger on Brad Day's chest once more. Smith on clean-up duty for the men in white. Henderson has to, or Aston, sorry, has to check up, can't play the puck. Ross bottom over the blue line. As the seconds tick down. Dumped on ahead, Mitchell King. Finds way to Henderson. Final minute of the first period. Tigers with a little chip and chase.
Marcus Mitchell looking to land a hit there, but also not completely crush the linesman into the bargain.
Balance gets the puck away from Thompson. Sasenis can't get through the Tigers' defence. Under pressure from Henderson, and does a very good job of getting himself out of it, but is then wiped out by Thompson at his own blue line.
I'd be interested to take a look at that hit. That looked a little bit high to me.
Well, Marcel Ballas certainly wasn't happy with it. Smashes a stick against the boards as he skates back to the bench. Passionate is what you can describe the Slovak as. Stead delivers a hit on Harding. Tigers still with it, back to Harding. Fired into the corner. Skaleski. Mitchell loses a stick in the process. Goodbye, gets it away from Henderson. As the seconds tick down, and that will be the end of the first period, which sees another coming together as Stead and Newell at the back there exchange words and said there's been needle in these games, and I don't think this is going to be the end of it tonight.
No, more needle than a tattoo parlour so far across, and it just seems to spark up at sort of random moments there as well. But there's been a bit of an undercurrent. It was there the last time these two teams met, and it's there again. They do not seem to appreciate the way that the other team likes to go about doing their business. The Tigers have now shot the puck into the empty net down here, which is not going to end well.
Yeah, Eric Henderson, I think, is the one who's fired it into the Bees' net. So Morris is going to try and return favour. Marcus Mitchell is going to be held up by one of the linesmen. There's more chirping going on. Josh Martin as well is involved.
Yeah, Mr. Finch is doing a very good job there of holding at bay Marcus Mitchell, who must be a good couple of inches taller than him.
And then some.
I was trying to be kind.
Yeah. Harry Ferguson is being, in the nicest possible way, thrown off the pad by Justin Lalonde.
It's Mr. Lalonde just giving him the little brush. Go away, please. This is not happening now.
Nick, what happened with that one that almost crossed the line? Have we got the replay for that one? While everything wobbles on here. Here is that chance for the Bees. Off the inside of the post and cleared by Ross Connolly. Good again, correct call made.
Correct call made. That's not crossed the line. It's literally been, coat of paint thin there, but it's very clearly not crossed the line, and away we go.
There's going to be penalties called here at 20 minutes. We will bring you those in the second period. Well, at the start of the second period. We'll have Anthony's thoughts at the start of the second period as well, while we make a break for freedom. We'll be back with you in about 15 minutes' time with the second period. Welcome back to the hangar for the start of the second period. Starts from that period from here as Brad Day leads the Tigers back out onto the ice. Shots on goal in the first. There were 15 on Max Wright, 12 on Brad Day, which feels generous. One goal from David Thompson. Penalties timed at 20 minutes. Will Stead receives 2+2 for unsportsmanlike conduct. Adam Harding and Louis Newell both receive 2 minutes for unsportsmanlike conduct. We believe the first Stead one and the Adam Harding one is from shooting the puck into each other's nets at the buzzer. And the other two, well, we're going to guess in amongst all of the furore at the end there. Anthony, the first period, Tigers with the one very good chance, very clinical on it, put it away, good goal from David Thompson. But the period itself as a whole, very end-to-end, very scrappy, and towards the end of it, as I said, it's starting to get a bit fighty.
It's more bitty than a box of broken biscuits that first period. Nobody seemed to really want to take a firm grip of proceedings and what was going on. And as you say, the teams at times seem to be more interested in getting under each other's skin than trying to win the hockey game. It's a game that Telford are leading, and probably on the balance of the play there has been. That's probably a fair reflection of the 20 minutes so far. Although yes, the shot count feels a little bit generous in both directions. It should be said. What I find interesting as well in those penalties is that we should be playing, of course, 5-on-5. That is the two makeshift defensemen out for Telford for the first 2 minutes of play. Less than ideal for Telford, even though they obviously have quite a deep bench. Will the Bees be able to find a way in the opening stretches to make that count? As we can see, Ashley Tate and Danwell Evans having quite a sizable chat with Mr. Yarlsmark and Mr. Poulton in the distance. The Bees are yet to come back onto the ice, which I think, given how the period ended, there were some earnest discussions on the bench and then off the ice as well during the break. It's probably wise to sort of keep them apart a little bit.
Yeah, I believe most of that discussion is about a conversation being had below us between the two teams. And one of the referees coming over and obviously doing the right thing, escorting them back to the changing rooms. And when Dan Weller-Evans came over and asked what had happened, the referee said, just have a word with him. And when he was asked, what about, there was no response. So I think the explanation has been given now as to what has happened. And they're explaining that Wilstead has 4 minutes to sit. Now, because it's 2 penalties on the 1 player and a penalty each on 2 players, there have been times this year, and I've seen it through doing all the game sheets, where the team with 1 player in the box has been on the penalty kill, but it looks like not the case here. So we're going to stay 5 on 5, which is a little confusing to me, but hey-ho.
That's why you and I are up here and why we're not officials.
That, and we both skate like Bambi.
Bambi would be a stretch.
Rose with the pass up ice. Tipped ahead at the blue line by Thompson. Goodbye is there to collect. Fired around the boards. Kept in well. Shot caught high in the glove of right, and he just about holds on. That was an interesting start. It's like watching Aaron Judge in the World Series.
I was about to say cricket day during the summer, maybe we won't be putting Max Wright at slip. And then Harry Ferguson back in amongst making friends, and immediately takes a cross-check for his troubles. I think this is one of the things that people will look at these sort of incidents and kind of say it's a lot of 6 of one and half a dozen of another on a lot of these things. Ferguson has made great real estate in games in the Hangar this year, just being a pest, and of course that does come with receipts on occasions, and we'll have to see whether it develops, because I think both teams, knowing they're not going to face each other that much more this year, are not going to be worried about it anymore.
I believe it's 1 more game tomorrow in Telford. Held against the Tigers bench. Bees cleared the blue line. Mitchell King collects. Stops any kind of breakout from Goodbye. Anthony is frantically checking to see if I'm right on that one, as it's tipped into the corner. Foot race to it. Balaz shoves Mitchell King off the puck. Mitchell King as well to haul his man back, and Tigers clear. Poor clearance as Thompson collects a loose puck, loses an edge on the turn. Bees with it. Fired cross ice. Sesenis over the blue line. Escape in at Mitchell King. Back across Balaz. That one's fired very wide. Morris keeps that one in at the blue line. Down low. Deflection takes it away from Goodbye, but Balaz reads it. Balaz drops off. Morris pinching in from the blue line. Tries to throw it into the front of the net. Howells on the great intercept there. Howells off the leg of Balaz on that clearance. But again, takes advantage of a bit of lapse thinking there from Balaz. Cleared ahead.
This is better intent from the Bees, though, to start the second period. The first was incredibly sluggish. There's been a bit of extra pace, and a bit of spring in their step to start the second frame.
McKenzie, under duress, drops it off. Fired across the zone, almost a fielder. The bounce takes it away from him. Bees will get the puck. High flip, blocked by Connolly. There's enough of a job on the bouncing puck to get it away from Rose. Connolly deflecting pass, finds Howells. Drops off to McKenzie, fired cross ice. Brilliant move. That one fired over the bar by Skaleski. Back into the zone, McKenzie. The no-look pass off the skates of Hemmings-Mayer. Bees with it. Pushed on ahead. Stopped immediately by Connolly. Morris turns over to Hemmings-Mayer. That one's off the legs of Fielder. Chipped in at the blue line by Rose as he goes to the bench, and Bees take a change. Connolly away from Rossbottom. Skaleski up the blue line to Smith. He's able to get the puck off of him. Tipped ahead by Rossbottom. Icing waved off. Ranson around there to collect. Finds Wilson. Aston leads the rush for the Tigers. Through neutral ice, tries to find Smith. That one just behind him. Rossbottom does a good job. Tied up. Pass off. Shots fired wide over the bar of day. Kept in by Kelly. Kelly's shot. Rossbottom goes to the tip. That one takes it into the corner. Kept in once again by the Bees. Rossbottom spins away from Connolly. finds Ransom. He's been out there for a long time now. Kelly finds Ransom. Ransom snaps a shot. That one saved by Day. And both teams will get some fresh legs on.
A bit of sustained pressure there in the zone for the Bees. Really, the first time in this game if we're 100% honest out in a 5-on-5 situation. Only that shot from Jacob Ransom and not just having. Just didn't quite have enough on it, but that was much better from the Bees. And of course, they got a bit of a cycle going, got the lines rotated as well, so everybody was kind of getting a chance. They stayed patient, but Telford stayed patient as well.
Tigers win the draw. Ferguson back to Mitchell King. Turned over. Sesenis at the goal line. Lovely little move, but it's dispossessed by Harding as he's now out of the box, as is Newell. Stead will be out in 5 seconds at the next whistle. Mitchell King can't keep that one in. The Bees will break. Balaz steps in, fired wide. Not the greatest effort. Not really getting much of a snap on that one.
No, he needed to be quick with it though, because the man was closing in on him, so he just wanted to get the shot away to see if he could get anything from it.
Absolutely, the Tigers break. Thompson over the blue line. Drop back to Harding. Tries to find it to the front of the net, and Ferguson. Henderson finds Thompson again. That one's saved by Wright. Ferguson turns and fires. Wright makes another save. Bees can't clear the blue line. Kept in by Mitchell King. All swing, no ding from Marcel Balaz on that hit. Put back to Mitchell King again. Into the corner. Henderson helps it on its way. Ferguson will find Thompson. Back to Ferguson. Takes a shot from the goal line, blocked by Cathcart. Mitchell King from the blue line. That one off the pads of Wright. You could hear that one from way up here, and the Bees do clear the zone. Bees are going to go and try and change a few players, and that could come up. And Henderson tries to find Lucas Price. Saved by Wright. Puck loose in front of it all. And the Bees do a good job cleaning up.
He's really slow on the change there, and they ended up giving the Tigers a massive opportunity, but ultimately Max Wright to the rescue again.
Rossbottom, lovely handle to get away from Price. Hemmings Mayer drops it off. Morris not clean the shot again. That one's wide. Nags stopped by Price. Landsberg can't get that under control. Morris keeps it in. Rose lurking at the goal line, gets there ahead of Newell. Back to Hemmings Mayer. That one off the stick of Danny Rose and away from the Tigers' net. Always good when you've got Dan Rose and Danny Rose on the same shift.
The universe in balance, as it were.
Rose, by any other name, is not playing ice hockey. Crawley evades Nags. Doesn't evade Rossbottom. Landsberg's on clean-up duty. Little chip and chase. The Bees want to stop just to get Will Stead out of the box at this point. And they'll break the other way. That pass wayward. As Rose is sandwiched between two Tigers. Connolly finds Price. Chipped on ahead. That pass behind the man, Mackenzie. Chance in front and snapped home. I think it's Devon Skaleski. We'll find out in a minute. 26-40. The Tigers doubled their lead, 2-0.
I'm just trying to see if I can figure out who that was. But either way, we talked about being clinical earlier. I think that might be Finn Howells, but it's but certainly either way.
Yeah, Finn Howells on that one.
But it's another sort of kicker for the Bees. They started the period so well, which would be the big frustration for the home fans there, and probably arguably could and maybe should have gotten a reward. But this is what happens, and this is what Telford have been thriving on recently. They've had a little bit of momentum, especially off the back of last weekend. They're going to want to keep that going, and especially because they've had two really good chances and scored them both.
Finn Howells, 11th of the season. Apologies for not getting that the first time around. Assist from Scott McKenzie. Coming together, sees a big hit. Delivered at the Bees blue line, unintentional. I can't see the man is down. The Tigers' second goal is just Howells from McKenzie.
It's interesting as well, given how needly this game has been at times, that a moment like this has happened and everybody just stops.
Yeah. I think the thing with that one as well is, from what we could see following the puck, there was no intent in it. It just seems to be a case of coming together between the two players.
Yeah, it's not a hit thrown so much as just a collision of fast-moving people.
An update from Anthony as he shows me his phone. It's the Milton Keynes Lightning 1, the Leeds Knights 1.
Matt Barron scoring 53 seconds from the end of the first frame to tie things up in that top of the table clash. Elsewhere, Hull lead by 7 goals to 2. And it's now 2-2 at the link centre between the Wildcats and the Sharks.
You can tell with vamping. Here is the hit. It's Rhodes Mitchell-King.
He's just not able to change direction at the crucial moment there, unfortunately.
Obviously, both teams with first aiders at least. So coming together with Don Goodbye. Goodbye did stop immediately and signal to the referee to stop the play. Just wait and see what happens now.
Yeah, as both teams have just returned to their benches, just letting the first aiders on the ground do their job.
I say Mitchell King is moving, at least.
Yes, he does appear to roll over onto his back.
And he's sitting up now.
Well, that is a good sight to see. And up and off under his own power.
Yep, up and skating back to the Tigers bench. Actually, wait and see where the puck was at the time of stoppage. I think just neutral ice makes most sense here.
I think we're going to the face-off, the opening face-off dot here. If I'm honest, it seemed like the fairest place, even though possibly the face-off dot closest to the Tigers bench in neutral would be the closest to where the play was.
Looks like we're going this side of neutral ice.
Okay.
So side nearest the Bees bench.
Guess the Bees take a moment to change again.
Right, well, 35 on 5. Wilstead is finally allowed out of the box, and the Tigers win the draw. Danny Rose gets centre ice, dumped into the corner, right out of his net to play it. Fired around the boards, riskily.
Took a wicked deflection off of one of the stanchions there, and probably not in the position anybody thought it was going to go.
Chipped ahead by Hemmings May. Tigers with it. Kept in at the blue line. Mogg turns, fires. That one wide Day's net. Rebound falls nicely out to Ferguson. Stretch pass doesn't find the stick of Thompson. Icing's called. I'm keeping one eye on the walkway behind the DJ box to see if Rhodes Mitchell-King makes his way to the change room. There's been nothing yet. So he is still sat on the bench.
No, eventually the Telford bench team are probably just getting him to sit down on the nearest available seat and give him a bit of an evaluation before walking him anywhere at the moment. As play is back on the way.
Bees in the draw. Morris shot blocked. No, fired around the boards. That's on by Thompson. Ferguson will take a run up the right-hand side. Goes past Nags. Still with it, loses out finally. Another poor pass from the Bees. Shot fire towards goal. On that occasion, goes wide of Wright's net. Long stretch pass. Stead doesn't get anything on that one. Just sort of fired 150 feet the other way. And icing is called.
With all due respect to Will Stead, it's very, very hard to play a shot in and around your waist. But Yeah, the air's gone out of this game, given what's just happened. Somewhat understandably, of course, and it's the team that kind of retakes the initiative to take the momentum. I think is going to do the most here. As the Tigers win yet another face-off. I would hate to see the face-off statistics for the Bees this evening. It doesn't feel like they've won many, if any.
Again, another deja vu case from the last visit here. Played ahead right out of his net. Morris has to come over and play it. Nags. Chipped ahead to Stead. Turnover again. Tigers with it behind the net. Tries to crash it in on the wraparound. Right. Able to hold on. 11:27 remaining in period number 2.
The Tigers got a chance there because Ollie Nags blew a tyre. But I'm not quite sure just how much of his own cognizance that blowing of a tyre was. There was a tiny hint of interference in that play, which gave Telford the opportunity, but it would have been one that would have been unusual to have seen called should it have happened. The Bees win a face-off.
And turn it over in their own zone. Howells jumped on ahead. Rossbottom gets ahead of Mackenzie and loses it out again. Back to Harding at the blue line. Shot towards goal off of many sticks. Mackenzie is the first. Harding again. Slid across, shot off the pads of right, and he'll play it up into his glove and hold on.
Yeah, pretty run-of-the-mill, that one in the immediacy for Max Wright. The Bees are just, again, they're having another moment of struggling to kind of to create much. And an interesting sight to see the sort of the third line of Ranson, Rose, and Wilson coming out. You'd hope to kind of provide some energy, but especially as they're up against this fourth combination from the Tigers, you'd hope that this will be energy for energy. But you'd hope that maybe some of the more veteran players on this Bees third line would be able to kind of potentially outthink what's there from the Tigers.
They're trying to clear the zone. They're not going to be able to on that occasion. Landsbergs fires one into the paint and Wright holds on. Once again, just more and more pressure from the visitors being exerted.
You just have to. The Bees feel like they just need to push back a little bit. They're allowing Telford a little bit too much freedom to kind of do what they want. Obviously not helped by the fact that Telford are winning a large majority of the face-offs here, but there's some nous in this B side. It just feels like that they're not using. They probably need to use a few more. Some may call it gamesmanship, some may call it sort of veteran tricks and the like, but yeah, it feels like the Bees are just not quite operating at the level they need to be. Like they have the game plan to deal with these fast-moving, high-paced, high-skilled teams, but we're kind of seeing the issues that they've had here. Again, we talked about the teams around them, but teams that almost play a little bit too similar to them. They don't quite know how to solve their own Rubik's Cube.
As you say, it has been half the battle this year and half the issue. Smith tries to find Landsbergs. More good forechecking going on from the Tigers. These, well, they haven't been down this far at the end of the ice for a good couple of minutes now. Now might be the chance. Rose gets on the end of that one. Pushed into the corner by Lease. Pass flutters coast to coast. Landsberg chips that one round Mitchell and he's off on his own. Kelly pinching in, draws a penalty on that one. And Josh Kelly is going to head to the box. 2 minutes for tripping is the call, 29:52.
Well, a case of gifts from old friends there, as I mean, Kelly's having a conversation about it, but he kind of did the necessaries there. It's what you'd expect your defenseman to do in such a situation. If a man's got the jump on you, find a way to stop him. Legality irrelevant on that particular occasion. Should be said though, whilst I said that the Bees may want to kind of target that fourth line from the Tigers, they have been pretty impressive, all things considered. You and I said we were excited to see Josh Crawley in action. The hype does appear to be real.
Mitchell King is back out on the ice, which is a good sign as the Tigers are back on the man advantage. Shot from Henderson, that's off a B skate in front. Stead will clear it up ice. Works his way over to Thompson. Henderson will go to the front of the net. That one's back to Mitchell King. Thompson's chance. That one, heavy block there. Can't see who that was. And Bees, another shot saved by Wright. Mitchell King pinching in.
It's Cathcart who's made that initial block.
Drops in Ferguson, winds up, fires. That one's saved by Wright, and he'll hold on.
Max Wright doing Max Wright things there as the Tigers have stretched the Bees penalty kill unit there, and Wright just throws the gun out like it was absolutely nothing to him. But yeah, Cathcart making a block in there. That was better from the Tigers in terms of their power play. Obviously, we've mentioned the fact statistically not the best man advantage unit in the league, but they actually got the Bees penalty kill unit having to move a bit there. Got a little bit scrappy. The space opened up for a high quality shot, but yeah, Max Wright going to do a Max Wright.
Tigers win the draw again. Mitchell King back to Henderson. Gets off the Thompson shot, deflected off the stick of Mogg. Tuck eats it away from goal, luckily. Ferguson around the boards. Mitchell King collects. Return to sender as he's under pressure from Morris. Henderson. Back to Mitchell King. Fire back across. Henderson's shot, saved by Wright again. Mitchell King playing across the top of the diamond. Drop off into the slot. Rebound again. Another save, Max Wright, as he blocks that one up into the netting.
It's only one of the things of having watched Wright a bit more up close. Obviously, watching it from up here, you do get a particular view. But having kind of stood behind the goal last weekend in Swindon, the one thing Max Wright is really, really good at, and probably is what made him one of the better netminders in this league, his anticipation of the play is at a very different level than a lot of other netminders in this division. He reads what's going on so well. It's not a case of just reacting and jumping across. He can kind of feel where the play is going to go. That's why he's making so many high-quality saves, because he's able to kind of rationalise out where and what's happening.
Another chance deflected in front. Wright makes the save once more. 21 seconds left on the Kelly Minor, and another body skating back to the Bees bench after another block.
Yeah, I think that's Stuart Mogg in a bit of discomfort there, having put the body on the line for the cause. You think Ty Cathcart's made about 3 or 4 blocks this evening and hasn't had a single one trouble him. Mogg makes probably his second big block of the night, and he's instantly in pain, which would be just the sort of fortune the Bees have had this year. I was about to say luck, but of course I don't believe in it, so it would be pointless to say.
Well, we have kicked many cats this year. Bees try and clear the zone. Glove down by Harding. Back to Newell. Penalty winding down. Newell with it. Cycled across. Gets the return pass. Aston goes down low behind the goal. Kelly out the box. Bees return to full strength. Jacob Ranson does get over the boards eventually. I'm not going to say how elegantly he did that. Shot back door. Save Wright once again. 8 minutes left in the second.
There are no points of style, fortunately, for Jacob Ransom, but then again, his game has never been predicated on being particularly pretty in and of itself. Yeah, a much better power play there from the Tigers. Obviously, didn't yield a goal on that occasion, but got the puck moving well, got some good chances on it. Unfortunately, they came up against Max Wright, seemingly locking into what he does best.
Another poor clearance by the Bees in their own defensive zone. They recover this time and will blast up this near side wall. Fired cross ice. Goodbye takes a hit for his troubles. Puck doesn't clear the blue line, but it's given up to Joe Aston. Aston will skate past Mitchell and finds a face-off dot, forces another save out of Wright. The shot count for this period is going to be disgusting. Heavy hit into the boards by Aston again. Shot in front, blocked. Goodbye there to collect the puck. And he will do it himself. Skates right out Deacon Field, around Deacon Field there, and almost as he fires one wide of Rip Day's right-hand post. Back to Zennis off the skate and kicked out the zone.
Great bit of work from Dom Goodbye. It does feel like one of the Bees' top-end guys just needs to create a little bit of magic, and Goodbye's done that twice this evening, and twice has just come up short.
There's a bit of magic itself. Henderson finds Ferguson on the back door. Another save for Wright.
Can't imagine it would go down well with the home fans if Harry Ferguson manages to get on the scoreboard, given his given how the locals here feel about him. But as you say, great chance, well crafted, just didn't quite come off for them.
Bees once again can't clear the blue line. Tigers with it. It's been phenomenal in this period. Thompson allowed to just dance around Wilstead, still dancing, thrown in front. Bobbling pucks, loose again, Wright makes one save, two saves, still loose. Kelly clears his man out. Thompson back to fielder at the blue line. Stead goes to rush him. Bees will clear the blue line, but they can't get it under control. Connolly will get there ahead of Rossbottom. Fielder off the boards. Nags. Kelly turnover again. Henderson. Skaleski gives the man a run around. Shot goes through the crease. Shot fired on net. Wright will hold on. 5:45 remaining in period number 2. And the Bees have just been unable to do anything in this period. It's been stifling.
We've talked. How many times have we said deja vu this evening? Telford although Telford have done it in a slightly different way, in the sense that actually what they've done more of last time was kind of allowing the pressure to kind of come onto them and pushing guys wide. They've actually done more and looked more dangerous by kind of trying to craft and create bits and pieces themselves and actually just forcing the Bees onto the back foot rather than saying, well, come and get us. Although it'll be interesting to see. Oh,
and that one has gone from the blue line straight in. I believe there's a deflection in front, so we'll bring you the goal scorer in a second. 34-19, and the Tigers make it 3-0.
Well, I'll be interested to see the replay. Although by the looks of that one, it's I believe someone says it's deflected off their
knee.
Finn Howell's potentially claiming a second of the night. But again, just another kicker for the Bees.
Literally on that one. Here it is. Well, there's the aftermath of it anyway.
But certainly, like I say, certainly a tough one. But like I say, this has been a game, this one from the Tigers, where they've pushed forward and created more than last time, where they allowed things to kind of sat back and allowed the pressure on. What I was about to say was I wondered at 2-0 how much of that they would do, because obviously still kind of within a puncher's chance. As is 3-0, will the Tigers come out and try and shut things down early in the third period as time sort of ticks along?
Howells from McKenzie and Rose. Interesting that McKenzie gets the first assist, given it was Danny Rose's shot. Newell behind the net. Wilson, maybe the first real hit of the period from a Bees player. Aston turns and fires. Smith loses the handle, crossing the blue line. Bees can't quite clear. Nags finally does. Finds Hemmings Mail. One man to beat in Danny Rose. Tries to find Morris in front. That's brilliant from the Bees. Ollie Hemmings Mail waits his man out, and Liam Morris crashes in. Nobody notices him. Gets on the board. 35-14. Morris' 6th of the season.
Oh, Liam Morris gesturing to the crowd to get behind them there, and boy, did they need that. I feel like I've said that a few times in different games I've watched in different rinks this season, where you just need to get something, anything, and it was simple, basic hockey. If you go to the net, good things happen. Ollie Hemmings-Mayer has drawn everybody across. No one has watched Liam Morris pinch in. And well, a big goal from Mo last week to seal the points at the Link Centre. Has he started the comeback at home tonight?
Bees win the draw. Sesenis tries to find balance. Hauled down, crossing the blue line. Balance again remonstrating with the officials.
Might be a bit much there from Marcel Ballas, given the fact he held on to Thompson as he did it.
And it's 35-31. Eric Henderson, given time and space, snaps it home for his 19th of the season.
You can't write it, can you, Joe? Just as it looked like the Bees might have given themselves a chance.
And Eric Henderson is sprung in behind the D-men once more.
Which is the frustration of what happened last week, as Swindon equalised and then the Bees immediately responded and caused the problem.
Morris from Hemmings-Mayer and Hallam Wilson, the Bees' first goal. Fourth on it's going to be Eric Henderson from somebody else. We'll bring it to you in a second. Rossbottom. Henderson from Harding and Mitchell King. Crawley gets around Mitchell. More bodies falling everywhere. Rossbottom over the blue line. Fired back to Will Stead. Gets away from Mitchell King. Loses the puck. Lucas Price away from Rose. Harding up the near far side wall. Bees recover. Stead. One man to beat. Forced away from goal by Mitchell King. Back to the blue line. Shot deflected by Rose. That was definitely not going to go in, as it had been too much of a high stick on that one. Landsberg skates away from Stead. Shot from the blue line into the glove of right, and he'll hold on. 3:32 remaining in period number 2. I think we might finally have Telford get goal number 3. Here is the replay. Rose at the point.
So it just comes back and it just
off a knee.
Yeah.
The Bees have had so many goals like that this year go against them. It's not even funny at this point.
Well, the one thing you've said a lot of times this year is that shot had eyes. Well, that shot was almost head, shoulders, knees and toes at that point.
Shot from the slot. He's blocked. Tigers still with it. Rose, shot from the blue line, held by Wright.
No knees in the way of that one, as Max Wright sees that one all the way into his midriff. But yeah, the Bees give themselves gave themselves a chance and then immediately tripped over their own shoelaces, as it were. So just a rethink probably needed.
Shot from Rose. That one's off of too many bodies in front, and it's turned over once again. Chance. Everyone leaves Skaleski wide open. Luckily, that redirect goes wide of the net. Another pass into no man's land. Collected by a Bee this time. Chipped on ahead. Rose will get there first ahead of goodbye. Bouncing out to the advertising hoardings. Brings it around to Sesenis. Thrown in front. No one there in a black shirt. Clearance kept in by Morris. Tip off the leg of Day. Given straight back to goodbye. And another save from Brad Day. That one brilliant. Sesenis actually even. Nags from the blue line. That one shoveled into the corner by Tigers forward. Skaleski on that occasion. McKenzie gives it to Sesenis. Lovely little move to get that to goodbye in the corner. Tries to find Sesenis. That was behind him. McKenzie collects. Howells will go the other way. 3-on-3. Crosses the blue line. Shot fired in. Sticked aside by Wright.
Better passage of play there from the Bees. We have the pass just not quite finding the right place at the right time.
Shot into the glove of Day as Ballas crosses the blue line. 2:12 remaining in period number 2.
Yeah, aiming for the top corner there, and Jacob Ranson heading towards the back post in the hope of potentially tidying up. But yeah, a quality save there from Brad Day on Ralph Sesenis. Great work by Sesenis to kind of wrangle the puck as it was threatening to go away from him, but he's managed to at least get the shot off. But Day denies.
Tigers with it, 9 zone. Aston back to Connolly. 2 minutes remaining in period number 2. Puck takes a couple of deflections, still finds Smith. Mitchell stops the rush for now. Mitchell gets absolutely run through by Joe Aston and the arm goes up. Day gets the puck. And that is going to be 2 minutes for charging. That is textbook, unfortunately. 38-14, the Bees will get a man advantage.
Yeah, Mitchell's made the pass and has just been run over, but he's taken a step too many, and the lack of argument kind of tells the tale.
You know when you've been tangled.
Indeed, on that front. Hit was the contact itself was clean, textbook. Really good contact. Unfortunately, he's just taken way too many steps before actually delivering it.
Bees on the man advantage. You sense they really need a goal. 2 minutes or less. That shot fired wide. Stead. He's got 10 power play goals on the year. 9 for Marcel Ballas. He's also out on this shift. Goodbye. Back to Sesenis. Goodbye. Tries to draw a man out of position and fires it straight through everyone for point 401. 38-33. The coach gets goal number 21 of the year.
Adam Rossbottom providing the screen in front, but he's not managed to get a tip on it. But he's managed to do his job as Adam Rossbottom. He's blocked the view of Day. Day is just sort of dropped into not even into butterfly. He's just sort of crouched down in the hope that he gets something on it, but he does not see it. That one, Joe, did have eyes.
It's one of those positions you can basically describe as, please hit me. Well, back to 2 goals. Can the Bees go the next 30 seconds without conceding? Morris plays himself in the trunk. He's there to recover. And they will rush up ice. This is lovely. Ballas over the blue line. Fired across just behind Sesenis. finds Ballas again. The no-look pass, no one there in the slot. Henderson. Tigers will clear. Goodbye from Sesenis and Ballas, the Bees' second goal. Little pick on the blue line. Day has to come out and play it. Not the cleanest pass, but it will make its way to David Thompson.
Yes, Don Goodbye not able to go in two directions at once at that moment, but Day could have been in trouble there had that not come off.
Thompson with the puck, leaves it for Harding over the blue line. Lovely little move again from Thompson. The Bees able to clear. Now if they're quick, it's an odd man rush. That one brilliantly intercepted by Finley Howes. He'll take it the other way instead. Skates over the blue line, loses out. Offside was called. Bees the other way. The Tigers will go to the bench. It's 4-on-2. Stuart Mogg was the man going forward. Dan Rose bats it down. That's off a referee. Howes tries to clear. Kept it at the blue line. Morrison chance. That's off the side of the nets. Harding stopped by Rose. Played in the corner. And that will likely do it. As the clock ticks down, well, all the niggle has gone out of the game. We've had some hockey, some of it good, a lot of it bad from the home side. The Bees able to get 2 on the board, thanks to Liam Morris and Dom Goodbye. Those are sandwiched either side from Tigers goals. 2 for Finley Howes, including a redirect for the third, and Eric Henderson breaking in all on its own. At the end of the second, it's Bees 2, Tigers 4. Anthony, the Tigers, the dominant team through that period. There's no shadow of a doubt in that. The Bees will feel a little like they can get something back in this with that goal at the end. They've really got to work their bags off.
Well, you want a puncher's chance. You want to be within striking distance, and the 2-goal lead is, as we're going to chuck out the cliches. The 2-goal lead is the worst lead in hockey, but it should be said that scoreline is relatively reflective of how much better Telford have been across the opening 40 minutes. Sometimes you can get away with it, but I wonder what sort of Telford we're going to see. We saw the last time that they were here, as they shut it down and just didn't let the Bees breathe for 20 minutes. I kind of feel like the Tigers are going to will want one more goal before they really start to shut things off. But like you say, the Bees are going to need to put a full 20-minute shift in to get back into this one.
Full 20 minutes, cut out the mistakes, get an early goal. Easy, right? Well, we'll find out in about 15 minutes' time. See you then. Welcome back to the hangar for the third and possibly final period, as we always say here when it's not, an 8-goal deficit. Stats for the second period. Hold on to this one. Shots on goal on Max Wright. 27. Holy stat padding, Batman. And 11 on Brad Day at the other end. Goals in that period, 2 for Finley Howes, 1 for Eric Henderson for the Tigers. Liam Morris and Dom Goodbye for the Bees. Penalty apiece as everything calmed down at the end of the second period. Other than the rather egregious amounts of shots, the Tigers edged that period largely through just the constant forecheck and pinning the Bees into their own zone. It felt like the Bees didn't get out for 10 minutes.
Well, I felt Edge might be being incredibly generous to the Bees, certainly for the first, as you say, 10-15.
Grasping at straws.
Yeah, it was the first 10-15 minutes was Telford, followed by Telford, followed by Telford. They were absolutely all over the Bees and were by far and away the better side. And then, well, it's the hope that kills. But we talked at the end of the second period about being within a puncher's chance. The Bees are within a puncher's chance, and it's a frustrating one. It's been a frustrating game for the Bees so far. They have 20 minutes to save themselves.
Well, as Nick gives the not-so-subtle hint that he wants to show us what today's scores are. Go on, hit the button. Now you can hit the button. Games going on elsewhere in the league. It is finished. The Hull Seahawks 8, the Romford Raiders 4. It is the Swindon Wildcats 4, Solway Sharks 4 at the end of the second. And in what could be, it's one of the title-deciding games, the MK Lightning 1, Leeds Knights 4. And if I speak for everyone in our building and everyone watching at home, I can hear tweets being written out. You know what those tweets are going to say. I don't need to finish this sentence.
The MK Lightning as well, 1-0 up after 7 minutes in that game before Leeds now come roaring back. That's still in the second period. Fascinating one there at the Link Centre as well, given that the Sharks are away in Bristol tomorrow. The game where you think that they probably would have been targeting the weekend for where the majority of their points would come from, if at all. And they seem to be running the Wildcats close again. Perhaps Swindon now struggling, or at least maybe the book has been written on Aaron Nell's side.
The Wildcats have been guilty at times, especially in games against us, of taking opponents a little too light-heartedly.
Well, certainly the one thing that Swindon struggled with in the first period last week was they toyed with their food. The one thing that we have not had here tonight is Telford have not been toying around whatsoever. It has been a it's been a very different style of game to how they won here a couple of weeks ago. Like I said, it's been much more front foot pressure on the Bees on this occasion rather than last time. Like I said, it felt like they just kind of sat back and said, come break us down, to the Bees, and instead it's the Tigers who've been doing the breaking, but they are not out of sight yet. And as the game hasn't started, it can't be the curse of the commentator at this particular moment. 20 minutes as an absolute minimum to see who takes the points tonight here at the Hangar.
The Bees fell off a cliff last Sunday against the Sheffield Steel Dogs in the third period. I'll be hoping for not a repeat performance this time. They've got to find a way to break down the Tigers. 2 goals so far, one of them from the blue line on the power play from Don Gabai. The other, well, it's going to go down if you look at the shots on goal on Instat from just outside the blue plate from Liam Morris, but it's made by Ollie Hemmings-Mayer on the outside of the hash marks.
Yeah, superb from Ollie Hemmings-Mayer on that occasion, just drew everyone across.
So we'll wait and see if the Bees can first win a face-off, not in the defensive zone. Tigers with it, turned over in neutral ice. Mogg. Goodbye, finds Balaz. Maybe guilty of trying to play for a hit there rather than make a play. Tigers over the blue line into the zone, stopped first by Goodbye. Balaz ties his man up, that lets Nags collect the puck. Finds Goodbye. The no-look pass across the ice, finds no one in the black shirts, but instead Balaz had pinched in towards the net. Ferguson gets the centre ice line, dumps it into the far corner.
Yes, Goodbye there. Goodbye there, trying to make a move, fanned on it, and then decided to pass it to something rather than someone on that occasion.
Morris into the puck. Fired off the boards, turned over. We saw this in the second. Lovely pass back from Skaleski. That was somehow found its way to McKenzie. Max Wright is in no man's land. That one is brilliantly blocked by Adam Rossbottom. Rose back to McKenzie. That shot backhanded over the bar by Howells.
The Bees started this period again like they started the first. It's been all coming towards them. They just need to settle themselves down.
He's unable to get into the zone on that occasion. It's quickly kicked aside. Mitchell dumps it back in. Both teams get a change in. Hemmings-Mayer collects the puck, tries to chip and chase past Louis Newell. Off the chip part, can't get on the chase bit.
Slight amendment to the lines here with Hemmings-Mayer joining Jacob Ranson and Hallam Wilson there. There's a couple of very, very speedy forecheckers. It'll be interesting to see how much success this line has.
Kelly will carry it over centre ice, fired off of Brad Day. Smith is able to clear off a linesman. Lucky bounce, carries it back to a Tigers forward. Byrne into the corner. Thrown around the board. Smith carves himself a lane. That one's quickly snuffed out by Wilson, who spins away from the hit from Smith. Have a man of the match vote for you shortly. Because I think for the Bees it might be somewhat redundant this week. Balance. Fire through the zone, finds Mogg. Down low behind the goal. Back to Mogg, winds up, fakes the pass. Back to the top of the blue line, Ty Cathcart shot. That one's wider than net. Tigers in over the blue line. Thompson again, that pass broken up. Ferguson, the man trailing in the play. Shot takes a deflection wide.
It's good reading of the play by Ty Cathcart there. There was a real danger moment where it was sort of almost three. It was certainly a 2-on-1, almost a 3 on him, and he somehow managed to get something out of it, and the Bees have managed to clear.
Shot through traffic path of many, many bodies. The Tigers are bringing out the zone. Shot saved by Wright once more. Fired around Mackenzie, loses an edge as the puck comes towards him. That allows Senis to carry the puck out of the zone. Gets around Skaleski, centre ice. We're playing dump and chase.
An interesting tactic to use there from the Bees. Tigers' defence is not necessarily the most mobile, so I can see why they're attempting it. The problem, of course, is you do have to actually have to win that chase part for it to be successful.
And that one is tipped in from Scott Mackenzie. Shot from the blue line. Be interested to see where the stick was on this one. It looks okay from here. The Bees are questioning it, but it's 5-2. Telford Tigers. Scott Mackenzie with his 20th of the year, 44-35. Time to go.
Well, Dan Rose is questioning that. From up here, I'm with you.
Oh.
I thought that was low enough to count.
Yeah, that one looks perfectly fine.
Yeah, that is well within the legal limits there. The Bees are questioning it, and
the officials are going to have a chat. We obviously have the benefit of replay, and unlike certain ice rinks in the National League, we can't throw our replay up on a giant screen. So the referees can have a look at it. So the referees have to have a conflab. We think up here the Tigers' goal should count, and if they haven't got anyone who's seen it to overrule it, it should stay a Tigers' goal.
all right. What did I say to you as well earlier was the fact that I felt that the Tigers kind of needed to go out and get one, and then we'll see whether they then sort of retreat backwards and then try to shut the game down. But for me,
I believe it is going to go down as a goal. They're just trying to remember who gets the assists. So commence chiselling. Scott Mackenzie with a goal. The assist will be from whoever convinces Hugh Bolton the most.
the ghost of Tony Hand.
Yes, he shot, he missed, he wanted the assist. So don't be surprised if an assist turns up with like Matty Burns' name on it. Whoever puts their hand up the fastest gets it.
Well, it's been a very good night for Telford, all things concerned. Final score from the jungle is Telford Tigers 2, 18, Bradford Bulldogs 0. Just the 6 goals for Vladimir Luka this time.
Nice close game again in North 2. Aston into the zone, runs into a bit of trouble, still finds a teammate. Shot from the blue line, that's off the side of the net. Penalty is being called here. Landsbergs and Wilson have a conversation. And Landsbergs is the one going to be sent to the box here. And I'm going to imagine 2 minutes of netminder interference at 45 minutes exactly. Here it is at the front of the nets. That feels harsh.
I think it's because he's not been called.
It's Hallam Wilson.
It's Hallam Wilson.
Yep, Hallam Wilson is called for shoving Landsbergs into the net. And that's, as we've seen it on that replay, a perfectly good call. Goal number 5, Scott Mackenzie from Rhodes, Mitchell King and Finley Howells. As the Tigers head back on the man advantage. Probably the one bit they haven't done well tonight. So now I've said that, we all know what happens next. Hallam Wilson called 2 minutes for interference. Bees must win the draw. Well, it's nice when it lasted. Mitchell King walks the blue line, drops it off. Fired towards goal, kicked aside by Wright. Thrown cross zone, sticking away by Mogg. Ferguson, glove down by Thompson. The Bees fans don't agree with that penalty call, but they don't have the replays that we do. Day, Adams net to play it. Stead gives him a cuddle. 2 Tigers run into each other. Turned over, Dom Goodbye, still can't score with an empty net on that one. And the Tigers, brilliant work there at the back end by, I believe, David Thompson as he wheels to the zone.
Well, it was Thompson who was trying to call a penalty after blowing an edge, and
Ferguson even with the defensive zone stop.
And then we ended up with what was almost a comedy of errors, and well.
Shot deflected by Ferguson, saved by Wright. Thompson collects the rebound. Brilliant from Max Wright. Like I said, I feel man of the match of the Bees is going to be very easy tonight. And David Thompson is going to be called for holding the stick as he grabs hold of Stuart Mogg here below us here. 46:05. We're going to play 4-on-4 hockey.
Well, it's all started going off in the third period a little bit, hasn't it? After an incredibly scrappy first, an incredibly dominant second from one side, we've ended up with it's all over the place at the moment, getting all the action at both ends of the ice. Wilstead cuddling netminders, but I suppose that's better than what they were trying to do to each other at the end of the first.
Well, everyone at home, get your phones out. As Harry Ferguson is the one who's called 2 minutes for holding a stick, even though it was definitely David Thompson. Get your phones out, scan this QR code here. Have your say on the man of the match vote. 4 for the Bees, 4 for the Tigers. Pick your winner from the players listed. You have until the final minute of the third. We'll keep flashing that up during the breaks in play.
Oh,
turnover. Balaz tries to go for the wraparound, fires it almost out the zone. Mog keeps it in. Tigers do a good job on the defensive zone collapse. Thrown cross ice. Howells finds Null, who's able to spin away from Morris. Skoleski gets a shooting lane, saved by Wright, and lets the play go on. Balaz with it. Steps inside Skoleski. Tries to get through all of them. Marcel Balaz almost loses the handle just at the final second. The Bees return to full strength and are on the power play for the next minute.
great bit of play there by Marcel Balaz, and then just had it taken off his stick right at the last moment, and then tried to steal it back, but just sort of ran out of real estate.
Goodbye over the blue line. You feel a goal here is, well, imperative. Balaz finds Sesenis at the blue line. Steps in, fired across the Balaz. Goodbye at the blue line. Rossbottom again making friends in front of the net. Sesenis shot from the goal line is fanned on. Goodbye. Shot through traffic, saved by Day this time. Same plan. Almost worked. Smith gives it away to Balaz. Into the zone, fires a shot through James Smith. It's not Mortal Kombat, that's not going to work. Goodbye. Plays that with a high stick, foot race to it. The Tigers are going to win that one out easily. Adam Harding, wraparound attempt. Tries to find a training man, and it's another brilliant save from Max Wright. The goal's off, and the Tigers are back to full strength. James Smith, now with a chance. Wright kicks the net off properly this time, and now he just shoves it away.
Well, it was off on one side, off on the other, and then as Mr. Yarlsmark seemed
not interested
uninclined to call the net being off its moorings, Max Wright made it official. Ross Venus has pulled one back at the end of the second period for the Lightning, currently 4-2 to Leeds at the Thunderdome.
Don't forget, scan this QR code at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Pick your man of matches for the Bees, for the Tigers. Have your say on who walks away with the beers. Any arguments listed with the 4 people shortlisted, please send them to @beesicehockey.com. We think it's stupid because it is. Tigers with it. Thompson, all alone in front, goes between the legs. Max Wright tells him no. Another brilliant behind them save. Henderson this time is robbed. Wright doesn't even have a stick now, it's in the corner. Another one safe for Wright. I don't want to influence the man of the match vote, but I'm going to say it. He's on the list, and if you don't pick him, well, words.
I don't want to hear the words you'll start using if Max Wright is not picked for man of the match at this point, but dearie
Travesty
me,
will be the word.
Dearie me, Max Wright has needed to be on another level at times, and just has been, again this evening, has just shown a...
Imagine how good he would be if he had a team in front of him. Tonight, the Bees have not been a team.
It's definitely been a night to forget in terms of some of the defensive coverage from the Bees, and Wright has bailed them out on occasions. Obviously, it was a very, very frustrating night on Thursday, and a frustrating night here. But I don't think even Telford fans can argue of the quality of what they're facing in the other net at the moment.
Sesenis carries it over the blue line. Hell against the boards. These two teams meet again tomorrow in Telford. Hopefully another Max Wright masterclass as Lucas Price jumps the gun on that offside. 10:46 remaining. Here's that QR code. Go put the Telford round in the match. Bees one as well, but that one should be a lot easier.
So not knowing who's on that list, there's certainly a few. It's been a very good all-round team performance actually from Telford. I'm actually finding it quite difficult to necessarily pick out of my head who I would choose, because I think again they've turned up and kind of been much more of a unit. I mean, you talked about you sort of joked there about Wright not necessarily having the team in front of him this evening. It's been a very, very solid collective performance from Telford.
Sennis is hammered by Danny Rose to knock him off the puck. That receipt is returned by Josh Kelly.
So Sennis with a few words for the Tigers bench there as well.
Rose will try and get around Landsberg's Ross bottom. Evades a hit from Price as it's dumped into the corner. So you can play the fun game that we usually play with Chris up here, which is, can you guess who the man of the match is without knowing who the people on the short list was? Find out in about 15 minutes. McKenzie over centre ice. Walks, nags back, gets a shooting lane. Goes to the wraparound. Max Wright is in no man's land. That's off the skate of Will Stead, luckily. Balaz sets Goodbye away. Goodbye tries to get around Mitchell King. Gets a shooting lane of his own. That one saved by Day and up into the netting.
I think the strange one there from Scott McKenzie. He sort of held onto it for a little bit too long. 4 Bs pretty much at the top of the crease. And instead of trying to play it in front for someone to have a shot, just holds on to it and held on to it and held on to it. And there were definitely options open to him there. So I'm not entirely sure what the thought process was. And it's allowed the Bees to go up the other end. Goodbye's had a good shot. Ultimately, Day is safe. But the Bees, well, I was going to say having position doesn't mean a lot given the amount of face-offs they've lost this evening.
The Tigers quickly come back the other way. Ferguson takes a bump from Morris. Balance able to take away from Thompson. Drops it off for Nags. He will have to lead the rush. He's easily bumped off the puck by Henderson. That pass wayward. Stead finds Balaz. No, he doesn't, but Balaz will collect the loose puck anyway. Runs into a little bit of trouble. Goodbye. Gets the puck taken off his stick. Henderson. Tigers again into the zone. That one's off the back of Nags. That pass is blocked by Will Stead. And you can just see the frustration the Bees players as they skate back to the bench. It's 4-on-4. The Bees can't count to 5. Wilson tries to clear it. Martin carries it over the blue line. Tries to find Wilson. That one's blocked again. Hemmings-Mayer finds Martin. Spins away from Connolly. Hemmings-Mayer loses out in the pile. Kept it in the blue line by Ty Cathcart. Fine into the zone. Kept in again by Mogg this time. Lovely little move from Stuart Mogg. Shot into the glove of Day. He'll hold on. 8 minutes and change remaining in the third.
Well, a sensible option there from Mogg just to get the opportunity to just get the face off and try and do something with it, although it has not been the Bees' strength this evening. As you can see, as you said, the frustration is starting to set in there. Don Goodbye getting into sort of slashing matches and shouting matches with Joe Aston. It's not really what you want your player coaching your top import to be doing. It feels like the Tigers are starting to turn the screw a little bit and starting to shut things down. The Bees are just not getting clean contacts, not getting really clean zone entries. It's just not working for them on the night.
Clearance into space. Mitchell stops the first rush. It's still dumped in right out of his net to play it. Through the legs of Mitchell. Wilson will carry it up ice, gets centre ice, tries to throw it ahead. Tigers instantly back the other way. McKenzie tries to draw Morris away.
Tigers gone to position there by Wilson bouncing up off Mr. Lalonde.
Sennis over the blue line. Tries to throw it across the crease to Ross bottom. Can't make any contact on that one. Dumped into the corner. Morris gets that away from Finley Howells. Sennis able to tie up David Thompson on that one to get the puck. Fired up his right hand side. Dan Rose spins away from Mitchell King. Looking for help. So these get stuck on a change. Means the Tigers are able to get the puck back. Turnover again. Rose as the Bees are stuck on a change. Nags. Cross ice. Chip and chase. Balaz. Run into the corner. Mitchell King. Back to Balaz. That's deemed to be played with a high stick. It's a late call, but the right one in the end. 6:27 to go. You can feel how flat the game has gotten now. It's flat on the ice, flat off the ice.
Well, it's the bees are, I was going to say, it's all sort of been very sort of hit and hope, but they're just lacking the intent at this stage. Yeah, they're 3 goals down. Yes, there's, the clock is very much against them with 6:27 to play. But if you don't try, you'll never know. And it just feels at the moment like you've seen. There was a moment earlier. Oh dear,
there's one. It's a defensive zone breakdown. You called it coming at some point. There it is. Dom Gabai sneaks in and makes it 5-3. So the game might be on again, question mark, 53-41. Dom Gabai's 22nd of the year.
Well, the one time the Tigers have actually really blown the coverage on that in that sense to actually let something like that happen.
Yeah, Ross Connolly may be a little guilty of moving over for the pass.
Yeah.
Leaving the space open.
Yes, he's not necessarily anticipated. He's anticipated one thing happening, another thing has happened, and therefore Gabai had a ton of space to shoot him. But there we go. Something which will hopefully kind of generate a little bit of belief and a little bit of hope, because if the Bees push, now they know that they can get that opportunity. That was an interesting hit there from Ferguson, but now they can get something going. They're back within that puncher's chance, and there is enough time to do something, but they have to have the intent to do it.
Lovely work from David Thompson to get away from 3 Bees. He'll collect the puck again. Taken away by Dom Gabai with the epic stick lift. Gabai from Stead is the Bees' 3rd goal, and Gabai is going to carry it over the blue line. Poke check from behind. Tigers cross the blue line again. Tries to find Skleski. That pass broken up by Ty Cathcart. Stead over the blue line. Bees going for a change. Stead tries to go back to right. Cathcart. Fired around the ball to no one in the black shirt there as Bees are on a change. Shot fired through traffic. Cathcart with the block. Right, reaches out and gloves it down. 5:14 remaining.
I'm interested as to what Mr. Polton's having a word with Ty Cathcart about there, because I'm not sure that Cathcart did anything that's really warranting of such a stern word. But yes, it all got a little bit dicey there for a second for the Bees, but they managed to hold on. With 5:14 to go, this game may not be as dead as we initially first thought it would be. And this is normally where, having said this, normally Telford will score, as we've seen what happens when I open my mouth over the last couple of games.
McKenzie, backdoor chance. Mitchell King, there's the chance, and another sprawling save from Max Wright. There's enough to put Finley Howells off. Nags to Ranson, dumps it in. Mitchell King is there first. McKenzie takes it away from Ranson. Under 5 minutes to go. That pass broken up by Hallam Wilson. Harding. Cross that's Mitchell King. Lovely pass head. Tigers chase it into the corner. Joe Aston loses out to Wally Nags. Ranson to Hemmings Mayer. Tips ahead. Bees will go for a change. Thrown through neutral ice. Tips on the head by Aston again. Mitchell is there first. Rose off the bench. Jumps on the puck. Over the Tigers blue line. Pass collected by Ross Bottom. It's going to trickle back out over the blue line. Lovely little takeaway from Kelly there.
And Mitchell made the right decision as well to not jump in, because therefore if something had gone wrong, there was a man back to do something about it. That's smart, even at this sort of crucial moment where they're needing to up the tempo and do something here, the Bees.
Fired across, Rose in space. Backhands one towards goal. Kicked aside by Day. And the Tigers are able to draw another penalty on the evening. They're going to head back to the man advantage. Icing is called. Adam Rossbottom is going to sit 2 minutes for tripping. 56-32. Tigers back on man advantage.
Great work by Harry Ferguson there to draw a penalty in a crucial moment, just as they know that the Bees are going to need to up their intensity, are going to start applying more pressure. He's just forced a silly error out of Adam Rossbottom, who's now getting a very stern talking to from Mr. Polton, who clearly feels that disagreeing on addresses for the Christmas card list, maybe.
Scan that QR code there. Have your say on the man of the matches. You've got about another 2.5 minutes, or maybe just the end of this power play to vote if it lasts 2 minutes. Could last less. Thompson at the goal line. Hanson says that he's only had 3 short-handed goals on the year, what they would give for a 4th right here, right now. Goodbye throws it up ice. Day out of his net to play it. This will kill a few more seconds. Over to Mackenzie. Tigers on the rush over the blue line. Shot blocked by Mogg. Henderson. Back to the blue line. Gets the return pass. Henderson through the crease off the skate of Thompson and wide. Mackenzie. Chance in front, blocked by Cathcart. Thompson again going for between the legs goals. It's not your night, Dave. Henderson. Back to the blue line. Shot. That's over the bar on the netting. Mackenzie. Down to Henderson again. Played off the back of Ferguson. Goodbye will just clear the zone.
Well, Telford looking, not needing to press super hard, and given the fact that the Swindon Wildcats now lead by 6 goals to 4 at the Link Centre against the Solway Sharks, the thing for the Tigers here is to hold on.
Another save from right off of the shot from Howells. Ballard finally gets the puck and launches it up ice. Final 2 minutes of the 3rd period. Dumped into the corner, right out of his net to play it. Fans on the first pass. Off the head of Louis Newell. Morris's breakout is blocked. Smith fans on that shot. Smith is quite happy to kill some time here in the corner. The Ross Bottom penalty is about to expire. Last chance, if you scan this QR code on your screen, you can have your say on man of the match for this evening. Sasenis over the blue line. Snaps the shot wide of the net. Morris misplays the puck. Sasenis just doesn't see it. It's 4-on-1 the other way. Pick your poison. Wait your man. Brilliant block, Stuart Mogg. 1 beats 4 on this occasion. Skaleski dumps it behind the net. Rossbottom will come out and play it. Mogg, final minutes. So chips it up ice. Goodbye. Into the zone. He's going to feel like he's been brought down there. No call. Right call, I would say.
Agreed. That was just some really, really solid defensive work.
Chip and chase from the Tigers. Another shot from David Thompson this time. And he and Ty Cathcart make friends. That's going to be interesting for tomorrow. Wilson takes it over the Tigers' blue line. Tries to follow in his own rebound. Loose puck. Brilliant defensive work there again by the Tigers. They'll have another chance on the break. Guess who? Pushed on goal. Wright makes the save. Thompson and Cathcart again. Now Harry Ferguson comes over to have words. Ty Cathcart is not averse to fighting. And now Thompson and Wilson are going to have words.
Well, Thompson's been drawing away at Cathcart for a while, and then as soon as the two of them sort of stand up with each other,
the gloves stay firmly on.
He sort of took a step back, which is an interesting choice there. Ferguson, who, as we have seen over the last couple of weeks, is definitely in his element in such moments. But I think ultimately they can have words about who's going to do what to whom. But the Tigers will point very, very firmly at the scoreboard, and with 21.7 seconds to go, it looks like the Telford Tigers are about to put themselves into the 8th and final playoff spot come the end of tonight.
For now. Well, 2 goals in 21 seconds. Difficult, not impossible. Might be impossible now. As the Bees lose the draw, and Mitchell King will just skate it all the way back and tick the clock down. We said it last month, and in the severe case of deja vu, it's been another perfect road game from the visitors. The Tigers, they haven't come to tea, but they've come to Slough, and they've taken 6 points out of a possible 6. The final score, Berkshire Bees 3, the Telford Tigers 5.
Well, sometimes you can scratch your head about how you lose games. There is no secret as to how the Telford Tigers have beaten the Bees in this one. The consummate performance, they have done everything they needed to do. The better team from minute 1 to minute 60, and deservedly taking points out of that, and I assume at some point the news out of Swindon will start to filter through. Tomorrow night takes on a very interesting dimension.
The Bees will, well, architects of their own downfall again. The second period where they just made far too many errors, not able to get out of their own zone at times. Against a team like Telford, and you look down the scoring charts, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players in double-figure goals already this season, which is 3 more than the Bees. They have got players who are clinical in front of net, and when you give them that many chances, they are bound to take them, no matter how good the man between the pipes is.
Yeah, the 24-25 season has been the year of sort of waxing lyrical about Max Wright, but for a Telford side that will be, I think probably on the balance of the whole 24-25 so far, they'll probably be quite sort of disappointed, because you and I were chatting before the game when we looked at sort of the line combinations that Telford were putting out. I said to you that I'm confused as to why this team is sort of so low in the table, and yes, injuries have played a factor. And one of the things we spoke about before the game started was just the how low down they are in both the power play and the penalty kill statistics. That's been an area where they've kind of suffered. They showed no sign of that today. They were just, it was, I don't want to say it's one-way traffic. That would be unfair to the Bees, who had moments of really, really good, really, really solid pressure, but that was the problem. Moments. There was a point there in the third period where the Tigers had forced the play to a point where you had Balaz and Gabay down below the goal line, which is where they are going to be vastly ineffective if they're wanting to score goals. For whatever reason, whilst everybody will point at Leeds and point at NK and point at Swindon and go, the Bees have got your number. Well, the Tigers have the number of the Bees.
I was thinking about this when you asked this, like, why are the Tigers where they are? And it comes down to the special teams. You actually look at the numbers between the Tigers and the Lightning, just in terms of offensive output, and I know obviously the offense isn't the be-all and end-all of it. But in terms of point production from the forwards and some of the D-men as well, it's very similar. It's just a case of the net minding started slow with Brad Day, and even Telford fans have admitted that as well, but the difference isn't that much on paper. Unfortunately, it's played on ice. So, man of the match for the Telford Tigers. Anthony, quick, you've got to put your guess in.
I'll go for Eric Henderson. Like I say, it's really hard to make a choice out of this. It was a really good team performance.
Well, he was on the list. I don't know who was just announced. Nick is going to hopefully flash it up on the screen. I can't see who it is. Nick, help. Away man of the match, it was David Thompson. Eric Henderson was on the list, as was Rhodes Mitchell-King and Finley Howes. Thompson takes the man of the match beers home. Well, he gets an empty box there, but there are beers waiting for him. Tigers fans, thank you for joining us this season. The 3 trips, 2 in the last month. If you've joined us on the stream, or the few of you who have made the trip down this evening in the awful weather. Obviously, we meet again tomorrow night. Let's hope you go enjoy the night and maybe a playoff run. Enjoy Coventry if you're going. I think the Tigers block almost sold out. If you are going to Coventry, obviously have responsible fun.
I will probably take a shot in the dark and say that there will not be as many goals tomorrow night in Telford as there have been tonight in Telford. Let's throw that one out there in the hope that it doesn't end sort of 9-8 or something.
And if there are, then I will be sending Anthony a message with his favourite quote of, "Why defend when you can not defend?"
Very much so.
Me and Tom were using that quote all of last week on the stream. You were credited with it, don't worry, before you ask. I know what you're like.
Well, I'm responsible for a bunch of very, very bizarre sayings, but that one does seem to have taken on quite a dimension across the NIHL, all levels at times this year.
Shirt off his back is Stuart Morgan. I'll have man of the match for the Bees. So, Anthony, again, you haven't looked at the list. Who was your man of the match anyway?
Given the fact that I will not choose, everybody is going to have chosen Max Wright. You know who I thought had a really good game in spite of the scoreline? I thought Ollie Nags did really, really well tonight. Confident on the puck. Yes, he made a couple of mistakes, but he kept coming back to well. Did not immediately kind of give up. He didn't let his head drop. He kept trying to look to do the right thing. I thought he had a really, really solid evening tonight. So
Ollie Nags is the not Max Wright Man of the Match awards, even though I think we all know the somewhat inevitable is coming here. What a shock. Max Wright is your man of the match and somehow was not unanimous. People, I know I put 3 others on the list, but
I do like the fact that Ty Cathcart has made it onto that list.
Ty Cathcart and Ollie Hemmingsmayer were brilliant this evening, as was Dominic Gabai, but some of those saves are a joke.
Max Wright makes me feel very, very, very vastly inflexible as a human being with the amount that he is able to flex himself in moments. But yes, it was again another Max Wright show.
43 save night tonight for Max Wright. He calmed down in third. Shots on goal were 13 on Brad Day and 8 on Wright in the Bees' net. I dread to think the amount of hats he's signed this year. He seems to get it every week, home and away. It's very hard to not put him in the poll every week. That's the problem. Well, the Bees go for a lap of honour. As I say, they head to Telford tomorrow night. And we are back here on the stream next Sunday. I say we because Anthony's with me again. Having seen this week's ninth place team, he's going to see what is at this moment in time next week's team is currently in ninth place. As the Solway Sharks are in town, they make the trip down south of the border for the second and final time this year. Anthony obviously very looking forward to the Sharks. It's a bit of fun with John Strange. And the Sharks, who have just lost 6-5 in Swindon. See any of the other scores?
It's currently still Lightning 2, Knights 4 in the third period at the Thunderdome.
That's the only one left going. So, Anthony, thank you for joining me here this evening. I hope you've had fun. Obviously, we'll see you again next Sunday when the Sharks are here. Nick, thanks for turning up for work again. We'll be back here with you 5:15 live on the stream, 6 o'clock face-off if you're joining us. From me, from Anthony, from Nick, thank you and good night.
Have a good night, everyone.